Welcome to the Living in Alignment podcast. My name is Amy Landry. Through a collage of conversations, here we distill mindful living and timeless wisdom within a modern, everyday context. Thank you for being here. As an astrologer, human design guide, and energy and soul medicine practitioner, Amy Lee works with women to weave their unique soul magic, deeply explore and understand themselves, work from their highest flow state, and learn to live in alignment with their unique energetic signature. So I'm very thrilled and excited to welcome you. Thank you, Amy, for being here.
Hi, Amy. Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure.
As you know, I'm a fellow projector and we love knowledge and we love to learn. But before we dive into human design, I would love to know a little bit more about you and your background and how you've come to land here, because this is a pretty unique career path, if you will.
It's a pretty interesting, I guess, path that I've woven. I started out in business. I studied fashion design, ended up working in, for fashion businesses, and ended up falling into like human resources and management type roles. And just a few years ago, I got to a point where I was like, oh, I've been studying so much. I'm a first line in my human design profile, so I'm constantly studying and learning things. And I got to a point where I was like, I'm just going to start studying something for fun, like something that brings me joy and that isn't related to my career. And that was astrology. And then learning astrology ended up leading me to human design as well. So they're both like my two loves that I love to weave together. And prior to that, though, I guess lived a pretty normal, early 20s life of doing all the things, studying, going out a lot, probably mistreating my body a little bit. And I ended up finding out I had an autoimmune disease in 2012, which led me to start studying energy and getting interested in like how our energetic body works and all of that, which is a huge, huge part of human design.
As we understand ourselves so much more intricately through these avenues, and it even comes back to some parallels with my path in yoga and so forth. It's amazing what we can do to nurture ourselves physically and mentally and emotionally and promote healing through energetic work. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so that's my other passion and love is just learning and diving into how we can heal the body through our energy, which I'm just such a big believer in that, shifting that, making those changes first, and then letting the body catch up to it in the physical. But I think there's so much more we're still to learn though. There's just so much that we can do in those fields that we're just starting to tap into and recognize and birth. So it's exciting time to be doing this kind of work and be learning these kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even now too, which is incredibly exciting, is that science is beginning to validate a lot of energetic work too, which is very cool. Could I ask you, can you give us an overview of human design? I know that it's gaining in popularity, certainly, but there are still so many people that have no idea. And also the labels, if you will, of like projector and manifestor and whatnot can be often misconstrued if you don't have a context for it. So if you could give us an overview of human design and how it came about, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest misconception is I hear people referring to the energy types as personality types, and it's so much more than that. Human design really shows you how your energy field works and how your energy field can co-create with the universe and with other people. Human design, it was channeled in the 80s by a man named Ra Uru, who was off on an island, channeled it in 8 days or something crazy, this whole modality. And it's a sister science to astrology, which is why I like to weave them together, because they just go together so beautifully. But it's based on your time of birth and your location of birth, same as astrology. And what they do is it takes into account the planetary placements in the sky. But what he's done is, so where in astrology we look at, say, like the different zodiac signs, what Ra did was he's layered over the top of that the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So there's a different energy, and that's what channels translates into the gates that translate into your body, that are attached to your energy centers, so it's all kind of, it's really translating the cosmic energy and how that's imprinted into your body at the time that you're born. And then that's the energy that you've got in your field that's consistent and reliable and you can work with. It shows your strengths, and then it also shows areas where you're more vulnerable and more open to the energy and conditioning of the world and people around you. But that's what I loved about it, because I'd always loved astrology. Like my whole life I'd been into astrology. And then when I found out I was a projector, and when I found out, this is actually how my energy field works, there's not something weird or wrong with me, like it's just so empowering, like, to know that, and so validating. So yeah, that's basically the human design. Like, if you just think of it as like, it's based on your time of birth, and then it's translating the planetary positions into your energy field, into your body.
So it's essentially a little bit more multi-layered, if you will, because of you. I guess Ra'uru is pulling in, I guess, the applications and understandings and concepts from different things, not just astrology, but also, as you say, the I Ching and Kabbalah, etc.
Yeah, the tree of life. Yeah. So he's weaving together several ancient sort of modalities, which is really, really beautiful. And it's also, I really, really love also layering human design with gene keys as well, which is very similar, but you can go into more detail. Say if you've got, so in human design, you have certain gates that are activated in your chart, and they're where you have sort of strengths and consistent access to energy. So you can learn about the gate, but then you can learn about what that gate is in the I Ching, and then you can learn about what that gate is in the gene keys as well, and just really, really layer it and go really, really deep with each gate. So all of these modalities just go together so beautifully. That make it like such a empowering tool, to have an understanding of. I really feel like with human design, it's for everyone to learn too. Like, I don't think it's something that's going to be reserved for a few teachers and readers to do. Like, I feel like it's something you need to go on a self journey with, and like sit with and explore, like, what does this gate feel like for me? What does this energy center feel like for me? And how's that playing out in my life? But there's 5 main energy types in human design. And the way we work out what energy type you are is based on those gates in your chart. And then if you've got gates that connect to a channel, what happens then when you've got a channel that's defined, you then have, you'll have an energy center defined on each end. And then based on what energy centers are defined will determine what energy type you are. So there's 5 types. The first type is manifestors. And the names are a little bit like, don't read too much into the names because everyone can manifest. But the manifestors, they're people that are here. They're only about 8% of people. They're the people that are here to really, really, like, I think of them as the people that are here to translate down like 5D, ideas into the physical world. They're kind of here to birth new projects, birth new ideas, and then move on. They're not designed to be consistent. They're not designed to just do one thing like forever. They're quite quick moving energy. When I look at each of the energy types in relation to like a element, I feel like manifestors are very like fire element. They're designed to initiate, and that's part of their strategy. They initiate, and then their strategy is to inform. So they really just need to like keep people in the loop, let people know what they're doing.
They're sparking ideas and igniting.
Yeah, for other people then to come in and, other types can come in and join in or respond to and all of that, but they're like the fire starters. Their aura in human design, we talk about like the aura as well. So their aura is closed though. So that's why informing really helps them, just like letting people know what you're doing. It really helps like their work and their energy and their message to sort of penetrate the other person. They're the first type. The second type is generators. So they have a defined sacral center, which our sacral center is our center for life force, energy. Generators, like I love all the types. I have a lot of my close friends and family that are generators, and they have such beautiful grounded energy. Like they're designed to be more focused generators typically, and they can really, really, when they're doing things that they love and they're passionate about, they can give like sustained energy to that and be like really, really, like their flow is when they're doing what they love, and it looks like hard work, but to them they'll say like, oh, it's not really hard work, I'm just doing what I love, I'm just passionate about it.
Our little boy, our little 3-year-old boy is a generator.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, yeah. I find, see, their energy to me feels so earthy, and grounded, and that's them in their genius when they do what they love. The big misconception is though that they're like worker bees or, something like that, because they've got this life force sacral energy that they can generate. And it's just so not true. I really believe that their sacral energy, it flicks on and off, so it'll flick on when they're doing what they love. It flicks on when they're lit up. When they're doing work that they don't love, it's actually quite energetically depleting for them. So more than for everyone, it's really important, that we find and we commit to doing things that we love, like in our work, in our everyday life. But it's so important for generators because that creates that life force energy within them, which we can all then, we all get the benefit of that because energy's permeable, and all our energy fields work together. And then the third type is manifesting generators, who like fundamentally they're generators, but what makes them a little bit different to pure generators is that their energy is a bit quicker moving. These are the people that generally have like 10 projects on the go. They're super multi-passionate, super, yeah, they can multitask, and they're designed to be like that. They're not designed to be focused, they're designed to explore all their interests. But in the same way as generators, they really need to be doing the work that they love, and they really need to find the things that they love, because that'll flick on. They have that sacral center as well, so that'll flick on that life force energy so they can go, go, go. And it's the same when they fall into work that doesn't light them up. It's energetically depleting for them as well, like it is for everyone, but even more so. And so, yeah, the biggest thing for both generators and man gens, I say to all my clients, like the best thing they can do for the collective, and like the best thing they can do, like to help, when they want to be of service, is to do more of what they love and get that sacral energy going that can help, everyone, help the world. So yeah, they're both, yeah, beautiful. I think so manifesting generators, to me, they're like earth and fire. They're kind of a mix between the generator and the manifester. Then we have projectors, which is your type, Amy, and which I'm a projector as well. So projectors generators and man-gens are about 70% of the population. So they make up a huge percentage of people, whereas projectors are only sort of 20 or so percent. So one of the rarer types. Projectors have an undefined sacral, so we're a non-energy type. Projectors, we're really here to be the guides and be the people that help direct the energy of other people. We're not necessarily designed to be the people doing all the work. So for projectors, it can be really, really helpful to work in like shorter spurts, making sure you've got plenty of time for rest, self-care, and also study. Like projectors really, really are here to be like continually evolving and continually learning, so that they can continually evolve how they help other people and how they help guide other people. With projectors as well, rest is so important. So for me, I don't know if you found this, Amy, but when I have allowed myself more space and time to rest, and not push myself so hard and not being like that real force, when I really surrender into flow and looking after myself, it's like I'm always so much more successful in my business than when I'm really forcing and trying to make things happen. It's just not our genius.
Totally. I can relate. And it's funny because, as you said earlier, it's been so not only validating, but relieving. Like I feel this great sense of weight lifted when I found out I was a projector, and it really made me understand why I could not, go hard, so to speak, in work, because I have historically tried to behave like a generator, because you're learning, you're deepening, you've got all this wisdom and insight that you want to share, and then you almost have this kind of sense of feeling like you need to do it all and can so easily burn out. And like, I would take a nap every single day if I could. That would be
Me too.
the best. And knowing that I'm a projector and having that validation, knowing that that's actually not only okay, that's of greater service to me, so then I can be a greater service to everybody else in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, beautiful. And I've really lent into that this week. I've been napping every day. So this is the first opportunity with a lot of people working from home where you can kind of have a bit more control. So for all the projectors out there, if you can have like a lunchtime siesta, like it's so beneficial. So we're designed to maybe do like 3 or 4 hours of work, have a break, do something that replenishes you, and then then you could go back and do 3 or 4 hours of work if you have to, or 3 or 4 hours of like study, something where you're inputting into yourself. The big thing with us as projectors too, we can so clearly see what's working and what's not working. Like we're really here to see other people, and to relate to other people. But what can happen is we see what's not working and we want to share, we want to help, but our energy sometimes isn't received. So that's why our strategy is to wait for the invitation. So really we need to wait until other people either actually invite us in, like through words and say, can you help with this? Or if it's an energetic resonance and you feel like this person values you, this person recognizes you, then that's like a permission slip to sort of give your guidance. But the big thing is like our energy is so precious because we don't have that defined sacral. So there's no point wasting our energy on trying to guide and direct and help people who just aren't ready to receive it. It just comes across as unsolicited advice and it just won't land for them either way. So it's one of the hardest things as a projector. And I still do it. Sometimes like I'll just be like, oh, F it, I'm just going to say this because I can see so clearly, and it doesn't land. And every time I'm like, I know they're not going to receive this, but I'm just going to have to say it right now.
I can totally relate. I'm trying not to crack up laughing, and it makes me think of all the memes that are on the projector's invited Instagram account of like, you just have to laugh at yourself, I guess.
Yeah, and it's an experiment, and be easy on yourself and be like, I'm not going to have all this down straight away, like and sometimes, yeah, you just have to do it either way, like do what feels good sometimes, but if you go into it knowing that they're probably not going to receive this, but I'm just going to say it anyway, rather than getting bitter because they don't receive it or they don't listen to what you're saying. That's our emotional theme for projectors. Our theme is bitterness, and that's what happens when we share and it's not valued or recognized. Yeah. And then the 5th type is reflectors. So reflectors, they're our lunar beings. So what makes them reflectors is that all their energy centers are undefined. So they're just super receptive. They're super empathic. Like they really are here to feel feel the other person, feel what's going on collectively. They're the evaluators of our world. So I know reflectors, like personally in my life, who are just the wisest, like soulful, caring people. And then I've also come into contact with reflectors who I've done sessions with who it can be quite ungrounding and unstabilizing when you don't understand that that's how your energy works and that everything that's passing through your field may not actually be yours. So yeah, they're really here to like learn other people. And if you're in a team and you've got a reflector in your team or in your family, if you've got a reflector, like their environment is so important. So if they're feeling overwhelmed or you feel like they're really ungrounded, like check in that their environment feels good to them, check in what's going on around them, how the people around them feeling, because they're just taking it all in all the time. And their strategy is to wait a lunar cycle. So they really need to, this is only for big decisions, like they don't have to wait, to go out for coffee with a friend or something. But if it's a big decision, like should I move, should I do this, ideally they want to wait a full lunar cycle so they can experience the moon in every single gate before coming to like their most aligned decision. It's like they need to see it from all different angles before they can know the way to move forward.
And their reflectors are about 2% of the population.
Yeah.
So very rare.
Very rare, very rare. So, but all the types are beautiful. I think of reflectors as like more a water element. And I think of projectors as more like an air element. But that's just my interpretation of how the energy feels.
I would agree with that actually. And my husband's a reflector actually.
Oh,
So, which has been really interesting to learn about and to understand. And of course, as projectors, we tend to try to understand everybody else before we really understand ourselves deeply. So I've tried to kind of pull back a little bit on that, but I think it's more coming from the standpoint of understanding him helps us understand each other in relationship, and then also, put a generator child into the mix. You've got two parents that really thrive on alone time and rest and downtime with a generator. So it's felt really, really valuable to understand how we all work and operate on an individual level so we can create more harmony between the three of us living together. And he's not generally into things unless it's like really heavily science based, But as soon as I shared with him what a reflector is, and he was just listening to me read about it, he was like, yeah, that's me. And again, he felt so recognized and so seen, and therefore he's been exceptionally receptive to it. And the idea of waiting that lunar cycle has been, I think, incredibly helpful for him, for sure.
yeah. It's just validating, isn't it, to know like I don't have to make split decisions. I don't have to know the right way forward straight away. Like it's safe for me to take my time, like for a reflector.
But for all the energy types, because
Mm.
the more you understand, the more you have clarity on how to operate in the world and make decisions and take how to take space and how to practice self-care and whatnot. So besides energy type, what are the main things that we really need to know and implement? Because I know that human design goes quite deep into environments and cognition and, all that kind of complexity, which is irrelevant if you don't have some just basic foundations and you are living and embodying that. So can you speak to anything beyond the energy types that you think is really invaluable?
Yeah, so absolutely getting a good foundation knowledge in your energy type and how that works. And with that would be your strategy. What's your strategy for the energy type? Then the next thing to explore would be your authority. How are you designed to make decisions? And really, like, this is an experiment. So I would really say, like, pick these few elements and just sit with them and explore them for a while, and then just dive into the next thing as you feel called. The next thing would be the profile. So there's 12 profiles as well, which they're more related to personality and how, rather than how your energy field works, they're more like how do you behave, act. But your profile can be really, really a really, really powerful tool to know, like, are you someone here who needs a really, really strong foundation in life and knowledge, or are you someone here who needs to experiment and make mistakes, and that's like part of your genius, or are you someone who's more here to connect, be a connector, be a networker, help, do that. So yeah, those would be the key elements I would say to begin with. And then I love to invite people to explore one energy center at a time, particularly your undefined center. So if you're someone who has an undefined heart center, like, sit with that, look at the not self of that, which is feeling unworthy, feeling undervalued, overgiving, feeling like you need to make promises in the moment, and like sit with that for a month if you have to, like, how is this playing out in my life, and then go through it slowly. It's a journey. So I definitely recommend people to have readings, but I really, really, really feel like you then need to sit with it and reflect on it.
Mm. A couple of things just to clarify. So the centers, obviously they can be defined or undefined, but they are based on the chakra system. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, he says they're based on the chakra system. I'm not sure, because I've been learning. So in energy and soul medicine, we work with a modality called soul centers, which are, rather than, so energy centers circulate like chi in the body. Soul centers are portals for the soul to come into the body. So I feel like he called them chakras because he didn't have any other reference for what it could be, and because there's going to be more as well. So he talks about, so there's 7 chakras, but there's actually 9 energy centers in the body, and he sort of channeled that we'd develop a few more over the next few years. So I don't know if he was tapping into something else, but he says chakras. Yeah, but there's
To put
more
some
than the
language around it, essentially.
yeah, yeah, and they kind of have different meanings to the chakras as well. So, like the heart space is actually split into two in human design. You've got the G center, which is like the seat of the soul, where they say that's where the soul enters the body, which that's what made me think, oh, this sounds like a soul center as well. Like, what's he tapping into here? And then you've got the heart center, but the heart center actually rules like ego, willpower, material desires, whereas the G center is love, identity, direction. So it's slightly different. If you've got an understanding of the chakra system, you'll understand like the centers moving down your body. The other thing to be aware of is the spleen center, which they talk about as the intuitive center. It's not actually an energy center, it's just an awareness center. So it's not a center that circulates any chi or energy in the body. So it's a little bit different again as well. It's based on the immune system, which is all through the body. So yeah, I'm still sitting with it and navigating and exploring, everything that how I make sense of what he's channeled. Um,
That's so fascinating. And in addition, another clarification for you. So when we're speaking of the profile, and as an example, mine is 3-5, as you know,
yeah.
is the first number our more conscious personality, and the second number is more the unconscious
Yes.
state?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So they say the conscious personality side, or there's the unconscious design side. So they're both really important. The first line, like typically you're more aware of that part of your personality. So for you as a 3-5, you're probably more aware of the needing to experiment, needing to do trial and error, needing to experience like a lot in life and show your humanity. Whereas the 5 line, the leadership side, you're possibly less aware of because it's your unconscious side. But it's something, your unconscious side though is something that other people typically see in you so clearly as well, so people would see like the leader in you really clearly.
That's just made me think now, and I can confirm with you, since you've got your wisdom in astrology, that sounds really similar to the difference between like a sun sign and a rising sign in Western astrology. Sun sign is kind of the main personality, and, but I find, is it correct in saying your rising is sort of more how other people in your wider circle might see you?
Yeah, possibly. In astrology, your rising's like well, in traditional astrology, they talk about it being like the clothes that you wear. So it's sort of like how the world sees you, but it's not really who you are at the core. Your sun's like your essential self, or your moon's your essential self if you're born in the night. In soul-based astrology, though, they talk about the rising sign being more in alignment with your soul energy as well. So again, different modalities kind of say different things, but with your profile, so the conscious side is based on your conscious sun, and the unconscious side is based on your unconscious sun. So it depends on where your sun placement is in the wheel. It could very much be in alignment with your rising sign, or it could be, it's taken, so the unconscious side of you is 88 days, about 3 months, calculated 3 months before your conscious side. So that's how they get that. So it'll be sort of 3-ish signs back. That makes sense.
Yeah, right. It's also fascinating.
So layered.
Yes, it is. And, and even when I grew up loving Western astrology, my auntie bought me the classic Linda Goodman's Sun Signs book. Like I think it's like a 1979 copy, and I was born in the early 80s. So I was given that probably earlier than really anyone would read that. And when I was a kid, I was not even really a reader, but I devoured that book and I still have it. It's all yellow and musty. And I found it so fascinating. But then with my path now in yoga and Ayurveda, I've always found Jyotish really interesting, which is the Vedic astrology. And interestingly, my sun sign in Vedic astrology is the same as my rising sign in Western astrology. So I'm finding these dots are connecting between all of these systems. And then in Ayurveda, when you were talking about the elements which you really feel reflect the different energy types, that makes so much sense. So I'm a projector, but I also have a lot of vata in me, and the air element. And so, my husband has got a lot of kapha in him, which is earth and water, and he's a reflector. So this is why I just cannot stop being so hungry about all this stuff, because it makes so much sense. and it
Yeah.
feels so good.
Yeah.
So speaking of books, actually, is there a book that has put you on this trajectory, whether it's in astrology or human design related, or perhaps indirectly related?
Yeah. It wouldn't, there's definitely been a few. I would say to begin with, like I've always just picked up like astrology books like over the years, but there wasn't really one that like set me off. I would say it was actually Eckhart Tolle's books that I feel really, really were a big shift for me back in like, yeah, 2012, around where I had all this healing stuff coming up, A New Earth in particular. Um, and then I read so many books that it's hard to pick just one, but I would definitely say his
I can
books.
relate.
Yeah, and then also Conversations with God was it was one that I really, really like took time with and reflected on. I can remember that being like quite a big book for me, not big in that it took long, but like a pivotal book for me to read at the time. Yeah, so that they would be it. But and again, like even with astrology, it's always more been about like the energy for me, like how does this energy play out? So that's why I think I resonate with teachers like that.
Mm. Can I ask you, with Eckhart Tolle's books,
Mm.
which did you read A New Earth before The Power of Now?
I did,
That's
yeah.
This is really interesting because everyone I've ever spoken to, if they read A New Earth first, that was their preferred book of the two, and if they read The Power of Now first, that was the game-changing book for them, which is how it was for me. So I read The Power of Now and then I read A New Earth, and The Power of Now was like so potent and, as you say, very, very pivotal in my
Yeah,
life. But
yeah.
they're both amazing, of course. But are you reading anything right now?
Yeah, I'm really into Johnny Epstein at the moment. He's a energy, master. He created a modality called network spinal analysis. So I'm reading his book, The 12 Stages of Healing, which is amazing. But I'm always, again, I'm some projector, first line. I also have an open heart. So I'm always reading like 10 books at once. So I'm also reading like an Edgar Casey book. I love his work as well. So he was a medical intuitive from like the early 1920s. And so I'm reading one of his books about healing. Yeah, they're probably the main two at the moment, but there's like 7 next to my bed that I'll pick up at different times.
Yeah, that sounds like a bit like my life too.
Yeah.
We're so guilty. Us projectors, we're so greedy for knowledge. Um, so I'd love to know personally, what does ritual and self-care look like? And, this may be a real reflection of you being a projector, but certainly relevant, to anybody.
I'm really leaning into self-care so much more now. Like it's been a big thing for me for a few years, but I feel like now I've really, really got the time to like honor that as a projector. I'm also really leaning into, though, in my design, my inconsistency. For years and years and years, I've had to, going into like a workplace and having a career, to be quite structured and organized. And my genius is actually in being inconsistent. My conscious sun in my human design is in the gate of extremes, which is really all about like no consistency. So for me, it's like letting myself wake up. And even though I have certain rituals that I do every day, I don't do them at certain times. I have no structure to it anymore. But I'm quite new to doing this. It's only been over the last few months that I've been able to do this. I say the thing I would do every day that really, really brings me home to myself and that sort of grounds me and anchors me into my day is my embodiment practice. That's been huge for me, like really, really learning to anchor my energy into my body, really let myself like feel my emotions through my body. So that's become like a bit of a ritual. Like I'll put on a candle, I'll put on some music, and I'll just move and do whatever I need to move through whatever's coming up for the day.
So you've got a permission slip to do what you need when you just feel like you organically need to do it, which is
Yeah.
kind of human design, really, that permission
Yeah,
slip.
absolutely. So it's just going with the flow every day and feeling what do I want to explore today? Obviously around like client sessions and the commitments that I have, but really letting myself be intuitive about what I need to fill that space with. And like I've had days this week where I've spent like a lot of the day like sitting and doing breath work and meditating because that's what I needed that day. And then I'll have another day where I've spent a lot of time reading because that's what I've needed that day. So yeah, really surrendering to flow and being unstructured, feeling really good for me. But that's my design. Whereas for other people, the structure is really grounding, for them.
Yeah, certainly. Because society, I think, really reflects that there is supposed to be some kind of structure and consistency and perfect routine and morning routine and evening routine and all that kind of stuff, which, I was hooked on that. And I do see the benefits in being consistent and regular with all these sorts of things, and particularly being a mum and having that rhythm in our home. But there's elements of my chart that I've started to dive into. And I remember reading recently in one of the books I have, there was an indication that, again, for me, consistency actually is not necessarily going to be great. And maybe showing up consistently, but it's not the same thing every day. It's not like I have to do A, B, C, D in one order exactly the same at the same time every day. So being consistent in taking care of myself, but that's going to look different and be ever changing. And it's so nice to be, it sounds so silly, but to be granted that permission, like from a book, from a system.
I know, it's crazy how much, because I did the morning routines thing for so long, and it never felt that good for me though. But yeah, that's the beautiful thing about learning your design. It's a huge permission slip to just do what you already probably intuitively knew.
But this time you don't have to feel guilty about it.
No. Yeah.
And you can allow it to be something that up levels your mentality, your mindset, and your level of health and your level of well-being, like across the board, which is really, really beautiful and really special. Is there a really significant teacher or mentor or influence, a person in your life, maybe in the past or even right now in the present for you, that's really, just shaping who you are and directing you?
Yeah, so I would definitely say my teacher, Melissa Sandon. I was studying at Soul Medicine Academy for 18 months. So she was a huge, huge influence on me in regards to energy and soul medicine, but coming back into my body and like learning to really, really trust like my bodily intuition. I'd spent so many years exploring quite like light cosmic based intuition that to come back to the body was like a huge awakening. So she's been massive in my life. And then I'd say my grandma. My grandma is like the person in my family and in my life who gets what I do, who understands it. So she introduced me to Edgar Cayce. She introduced me to like a lot of like Bruce Lipton, like a lot of those books, Energy, all of that stuff. So she's kind of been like my personal mentor. And again, someone encouraging me, like someone like when everyone else doesn't understand what you're doing, having someone like encouraging you to say like keep going, no, keep exploring healing, keep exploring all of these things, is just so so beautiful to have someone in your corner like that, and not just the people who are encouraging but they don't really get it, like that woo woo stuff you do.
It's so special though. My nana passed away a number of years ago, but I felt a really strong connection with her, and I felt very understood by her when I didn't feel understood by everybody around me. And that connection, not only with someone like that, but our grandparents, our elders, feels exceptionally special and so treasured. So I wanted to ask you, just bumping back into human design a little here, would you mind touching on the not self, the concept of the not self? And I ask you that because as you've spoken today and the conversation has unraveled, I've been thinking how understanding the not self has been an incredible teacher for me, because it's a real highlight as to when I'm out of alignment.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. The not self really shows us when, we're operating out of alignment, where we're operating out of conditioning is a big thing. So in human design, we talk about the not self and the true self. So, and your human design can show you different either emotional patterns or just behavioral patterns that can help be a like guidepost for you to know when they come up. Oh, this is my not self. My true self feels innately powerful and worthy, and I know I'm valuable just as I am. But my not self, because I have an open heart, is me making promises in the moment to people because I want to people please, or I feel like if I overgive, that will give me a sense of worth or value. Or, in regards to, it depends on what open centers you have as well to the conditioning. I also feel the not self can play out in your defined centers if you've had massive amounts of like trauma or conditioning or stuff going on in that area, that energy center as well. So just for me personally, I have a defined G center, which is our identity and ego, but I feel I had an incredible amount of not self behavior coming through because I was really out of alignment in that center. But diving into your undefined centers is kind of the first step. And then just thinking of it like we're all human. Like it's not like we can read that this is our not self and then automatically switch it off. It's like the behaviors will still come up, but use them as a guidepost and use them as a reference and to bring your awareness to, oh, okay, that's not actually my true self. My true self is this, this is how I'm designed to feel, but I'm playing out my not self due to conditioning or due to the energy of the people around me that I'm picking up and magnifying.
So there's a not self that's really associated with each of the centers, as well as the not self that's associated to the energy types.
Yeah, so each energy type has it. Then each center has quite a few. So it depends on like the conditioning. So say if you've got like an undefined spleen, then the beauty, and each energy center, even though it has a not self as well, if you have an undefined energy center, there's also a really beautiful like wisdom and learning that you're here to get through that as well. So the undefined centers, they're not like these bad things where they'll just show you your shadow behaviors. They're really beautiful ways. And I know a lot of people who learn to use it as like a gift. But say if you've got an undefined spleen, the not self of that is not having any sense of awareness around your own well-being, holding on to things that aren't good for you, whereas the true self of that is knowing when to let go. Like it's safe for me to let go of that thing or that relationship or that way of being that's not serving me. But the not self conditioning might be wanting to hang on to it because with the undefined spleen, things that relate to our own well-being are a little bit veiled. It's like we can't fully see it. Whereas people who have an undefined spleen, you're incredibly intuitive about the well-being of other people, just not as much about yourself. So yeah, each center has various, and for each person, it's just like each gate, it'll all play out a little bit differently based on the specific conditioning that you've had, based on the people that you're around, based on your environment.
See, I haven't really dug into that element of the centers, which obviously I need to. But when I have, at the very least, at the very base level, understood the not self theme of being a projector, which is bitterness, but also in communication with my husband, being a reflector and his disappointment, it's really nice for us to almost call each other on it when we recognize that, when I can see that he's in a state of disappointment. And now it's like so much quicker to, because we're conscious of it, overcome that state, because I can say to him, hey, you're in your not self. Like literally I can say that to him and he'll go, oh yeah, okay. And then you can reframe how you're perceiving the situation, circumstance. So I guess it's the same with the centers, but it's a matter of, I guess, becoming aware of your conditioned responses, particularly if that center is undefined. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, that's it. And that's why it can be helpful to sit with a center, for a month or so or however long and really witness how the not self is playing out for you in that center. And they're not like, really, it's a guidepost so that okay, I'm in my not self energy, like I'm a projector, I'm feeling bitter. What does this mean? Like, and reflect on how you got to that point of being in that emotional state or displaying that behavior. Like, did I try to push information on someone? Did I have attachment to the outcome of that information I shared? Am I not practicing, because for a projector, if you can practice, even if you're going to share, like I was talking about before, even if you're going to share unsolicited advice, you need to be detached from the outcome so you don't feel that bitterness. So yeah, use it as like a guidepost and a beacon for like, oh, something about the way I entered this situation wasn't in alignment, or something about my behavior wasn't in alignment. And then with your true self, so for a projector, you're designed to feel successful, you know, and for a reflector, they're designed to feel surprised. That's your true self. That's like your, so it's the same way. Use that as a guidepost. So every time you're feeling, oh, I feel really like deeply successful today, or I'm feeling that surprise, what did I do, you know, to get to this point, you know, and reflect on like your behavior and how you acted around that, because that's your, yeah, it's like your guidepost for being in alignment versus your guidepost for being out of alignment.
Yes. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So speaking of which, what does life living in alignment look like to you or feel like to you?
Yeah. So at the moment, feeling a sense of freedom, you know, that's really important. Needing spaciousness in my day. And yeah, really, really diving into all the different like layered elements of who I am, you know, so not just that I'm a projector, like really, really acknowledging all the beautiful parts that I am, and acknowledging all the parts that I've maybe tried to shut down or like deny throughout my life because I thought I shouldn't act or behave like that. So really, really being like authentically me. Um, and feeling good in my body is what I'm really, really working towards. Like the more I'm leaning into like, again, so for each human design, you can also look at your how to eat, how you best digest, all of that. So I'm really, really leaning into that at the moment. Health is like my next big journey that I'm still exploring. So yeah, I feel like for me, alignment's flow and freedom and unstructuredness, and having time to be creative when the inspiration's there, and giving myself permission to rest and replenish when the inspiration's not there, not trying to force myself to create when it's not there. Yeah.
Mm. And what would be your favorite sound?
I'm really big on sound. I always have like music or something going. But I would say it's the ocean. I really, really thrive when I'm near the water. So going and sitting at the ocean. And I find if I'm feeling a bit creatively blocked, if I go sit near the ocean for an hour and just sort of meditate and just be still, it all floods in for me and I get that kind of spark back. So
I think water is just so therapeutic.
yeah.
Even standing in a shower, I get really creative ideas in the shower.
Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful.
And what would you say? Do you have a daily non-negotiable?
I do, but again, super unstructured with it. But it would be my embodiment practice, or taking some time just every day to sit and breathe and just connect with my body. That's really, really it for me at the moment. And you know, some days that might be like a restorative yoga practice, even, you know, but just doing something where I stop. Would definitely be it. And also like drinking lots of water is my daily non-negotiables. I've always got like a massive, massive drink bottle with me.
Yes, me too. I would love you to share with everybody how they can work with you. And really, if you can just explain what it is that you do with your clients.
Yeah, so I kind of well, I work with clients in two capacities. So I work with people around energy alignment, understanding their energy and how to, you know, work in flow and ease and grace. But I also work with people in their businesses. So I do business mentoring. And I help people understand, also weaving in human design and astrology, but I use that as like an entry sort of gateway into doing more soul business energetics. So learning to connect with your soul energy, because it's so different for all of us, learning to connect with the energy of your business and sort of create in the energetic world, you know, which then translates down into the physical world. So that's where my focus is now. I do still occasionally do like one-off readings, but you know, a reading's really beautiful, but I feel like I'm here to help people integrate as well, you know, rather than just provide information.
And have you got anything new and exciting coming up in the pipeline at all?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm birthing a course. It's been sort of with me for a while, and I think I'll birth it in the next couple of weeks. That teaches people sort of one part of what I do with my business clients is teaching them how to work with the energy cycles they're experiencing. So I'm channeling that into a course. You know, how to work with the moon specifically in relation to like your chart and how to work with the days of the week specific to your chart, because there's a lot of information out there around human design and astrology. It's quite general, you know, because obviously it's so layered and you can go so deep based on your own chart. So that's what I'm hoping to help people do a little bit more through a course. And I'm going to launch as well in the next few weeks my next round in my business coaching. So that's exciting. Excited to take
very
on
cool.
it. Yeah.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you are deeply diving into on a personal level right now? Like, what are you learning about? What are you loving?
Definitely like health and the body, but healing on like an energy level. So I'm a type 1 diabetic, and so it's been such a journey for me learning to navigate, you know, like this is the information you're told, but I've always been able to recognize, well, you know, it's not just food that has an impact on my body, it's my emotional state. It's the energy I'm showing up with every day. And I can see it so clearly in my blood sugar levels. Like I just every day have this like validation of, no, there's something more going on. So that's my big, I think this will be like a lifelong journey, but that's why I'm reading all the 12 stages of healing and all of that. I find it so intriguing. And also Gene Keys as well. That's the other book I'm reading, and that's the book I'm listening to as well, which is very, very complementary for human design. So I'm just letting myself read and listen to like one gene key, and I'll listen to it over and over again over like a week, because that's how I learn is audio. I'm an audio learner. You know, so I'm really diving into that. I find it fascinating because Gene Keys is really like the yin to the yang of human design, you know, and it can just help you go like that extra layer and really see like, well, what's Gene Keys shows you, what's the gift, what's the shadow, what's the city of each gate in my chart. So it's just another layer to.
So Gene Keys though is still under the human design umbrella?
No, it's a separate modality. So they don't look so much as it doesn't translate it to the energy centers in your body. It's not really looking at your energy field, but it can show you there's different, I'm very new to it. So I'm probably not going to explain this in the best way, but there's different sequences you can look at. So I've been looking at what's called my activation sequence, which is just like your true self. They've got like a Venus sequence, which is your prosperity. And it basically looks at certain gates in your human design, but in the wheel of the astrological chart. And then you can see what your gifts are, what shadows might be playing out. I've just found it really complementary just to like read about like my sun. What's my sun's gate 15? So reading about the 15th gene key, and it just gives a whole other level of information.
Okay, that sounds so fascinating. And you know that I'm not going to go down that wormhole now.
Yeah. Enjoy. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So where can we send people? How can people find you?
Yeah, I'm mostly on, you know, Instagram. So my Instagram's amylee.co. I also have a website, but Instagram's where most of what's going on. So yeah.
I love your Instagram account. It's so beautiful. And it's visually so beautiful. But I love how you're fusing, you know, astrology and human design together in such a accessible way. And I love seeing your updates.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. It's such a joy. I find Instagram, like I just really enjoy it now as a platform and just sharing. And it's such a beautiful tool for projectors too, to just share your information, you know, so I feel like it was designed for us.
Yeah, I would agree. Well, thank you so much, Amy. I have loved chatting to you, and as a mental projector, you know, I could just talk it out with you all day. But thank you for your time. It's been amazing.
Thanks, Amy. Such a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
If this episode was of value to you and your life, please subscribe. And if you can think of someone who would benefit from this dialogue, please do them a favour and send it their way. If you feel called, hop on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. This is the best way to get these conversations into the ears and hearts of our wider community, to those who need it most. You can find me at amyelandry.com or over on Instagram at amyelandry. May we all move a little closer to a life living in alignment.